Hi friends, it's Shuba. Welcome back to my channel. We have made it to the summer months. I am very excited for warmer weather and for June and July because we're one step closer to my birthday, which is in August. But I also just really enjoy June and July because I get to sit out in the backyard with a nice glass of wine and read some great books. Speaking of books, today we're going to be talking about my June TBR. We're not doing a TBR jar, we're not doing a random number generator, we're not doing the Jenga. Instead, for my June TBR, I reached out to a few bookish friends, 3 booktubers, and one of my friends, and asked them to look through my physical TBR. I sent them a photo and choose a book, and then I asked them why they chose this book. For the month of June, my bookish friends chose what's gonna be on my TBR. So let's talk about those. After those 4 books, there are some other books I've sprinkled in that I plan on reading this month as well. The first person that I asked is Rupali, and she chose Kaikeyi by Vaishnavi Patel. This is a story that's been on my TBR for over a year because I've owned this book for over a year. It's very timely that I read this because I've been putting this off specifically for a summer read. Rupali actually recommended that I read this during the summer last summer and I never got around to it. The reason why she chose this book is Kaikeyi is a feminist retelling of Ramayana. Up until now, we've always thought of this mythological story as black and white, good versus evil. But righteousness does not always equal justice. That sounds wonderful, and honestly, I know the story of Ramayana. I grew up with this retelling. My parents would teach me this all the time, multiple times. What I'm very excited though is to read from a different perspective in the story of Ramayana from what I'm taught. Kaikeyi is actually the villain, and in this book we're reading from her perspective and she is not necessarily the villain in this case. So I'm excited to get a different perspective on this Hindu tale that I've known for so long. The next person I reached out to is Chelsea, and she chose An Ember in the Ashes by Subha. I am thrilled that she chose this book, and it's like she knows me so well. Let me tell you why. She said, okay, I think I'm going with An Ember in the Ashes. Here's my reason why. I had such a fun time with this book. I love the writing, the fast pacing and characters, and since it takes place in a desert setting, it feels perfect for the beginning of summer. I know you're trying to read more quality fantasy books that aren't just book talk, romantasy, and this one feels like it fits into the category. Chelsea knows me so well because I agree with her 100%. I've just been burned by so much romantasy lately that I just need a good fantasy book, and I'm really excited. I'm not gonna lie, I don't know much about this story. I just know that everyone who reads it absolutely loves it. The back says, under the martial empire, defiance is met with death. Laya and her family do not challenge the empire. They've seen what happens to those who do. But when Laya's brother is arrested for treason, she is forced to make a decision. In exchange for help from the rebels who promise to rescue her brother, she will risk her life to spy for them from within the Empire's greatest military academy. There, Laya meets Elias, the school's finest soldier, and secretly its most unwilling. He and Laya will soon realize that their destinies are intertwined and that their choices will change the fate of the Empire itself. This sounds perfect. It sounds like a rebel in the making story, someone on the inside throwing off the government. I just read that. I'm really excited and looking forward to it. It's going to be great. And thank you, Chelsea. I'm also really excited for this next book, and Stephanie actually chose this book for me. It's Deep Cuts by Holly Brickley. I've heard that this is kind of like Daisy Jones and the Six meets The Favorites. Somebody who's really into drama, but also the connections that we have within the characters. Don't know much about this story, but the back says, warm, nostalgic, totally engrossing. I love this novel, said Liz Moore, who's one of my favorite authors, actually. Reasons why Stephanie chose this book, she said, first, because it's on my TBR, and second, because I recently read a review that intrigued me so much, and I think you could 100% give it 5 stars. Let's hope. But this just sounds really good and right up my alley. It says, it's a Friday night in Campus Bar in Berkeley, fall of 2000, and Percy Marks is pontificating about music again. Why was that such a weird word to say? Hall & Oates is on the jukebox, and Percy, who has no talent for music, just lots of opinions about it, can't stop feeling herself from overanalyzing the song, indulging what she knew to be her most annoying habit. But there's something different to the night. The guy beside her at the bar, fellow student Joe Morrow, is a songwriter, and he could listen to Percy talk all night. Joe asks Percy for feedback on one of his songs, and the results kicks off a partnership that will span years. It says, Deep Cuts examines the nature of talent, obsession, belonging, and above all, our need to be heard. I shared this in a book haul when I had first purchased this book, and when I read that line, obsession, I immediately thought of The Favorites because I had just finished The Favorites that weekend when I picked this book up, and I hope it gives me that same feeling of intoxication while I read this book, because I was obsessed with The Favorites. Thank you, Steph, and I can't wait to read this. And thank you, Rapali, too. I don't think I said that. If you're watching, that is. All right, the last person I reached out to is my friend Logan, who you've seen on this channel before. She's always bopping around doing bookish things with me. She chose Exquisite Ruin by Adrienne May. This is the first book in the Labyrinth. This is actually an arc that I received from Galley Books. I believe this book is already out. Yes, it came out in March, so it's about time that I read this book. Honestly, the reason why Logan chose this book for me is because she wants to read it after I'm done. It's a romantasy, and the back says he's a demigod in a demonic form, a ray of light forged into a quicksilver blade. I nearly want to open my throat against the edge of him, not to betray him. Not again. The back says forced proximity, lovers to enemies to lovers to enemies to question mark, kink in a fantasy setting, a sorceress with amnesia, a pug in disguise, a hooved and horned demon who hates her. Sounds interesting enough. I am excited to read this and give my thoughts. Thanks, Logan, for choosing it, and also thank you to Galley Books for gifting me this copy. Next, we're going to talk about books that I have already set on the side and I'm planning on reading in June outside of these books that my Bookish Friends selected. This next pick is June's book club pick for my book club on Fable. It's called We Read Books. The book is I Who Have Never Known Men by Jacqueline Harpman. This is a tiny book, but it's been talked about on social media by plenty of people that I follow, and I really enjoy their content and trust their judgment of. I'm looking forward to reading this book. I know Logan wanted to read this. She and I both got this book on Independent Bookstore Day. Chelsea wants to read this book, so she suggested that this book should be one of our book club picks, and we all took a vote. And this is it. This is supposed to be a dystopian story, I believe. I'm not too sure what it's about. It says, deep underground, 39 women live imprisoned in a cage. Watched over by guards, the women have no memory of how they got there, no notion of time, and only a vague recollection of their lives before. As the burn of electric light merges day into night, the numberless years pass. A young girl, the 40th prisoner, sits alone and outcast in the corner. Soon she will show herself to be the key to the others' escape, and survival is the strange world that awaits them above ground. It sounds very delirious and interesting. Kind of seems like these women are isolated, and I think that it's going to hit some topics that really would make sense and are happening in today's society. So I feel like this is going to hit heavy and hit hard. It says, a consistently gripping experience by TLC. Someone else said, it is surprising that a book with the psychological detail of a nightmare elicits in the reader's feeling of such profound intensity. Sounds about right. I'm very excited to read this book with my friends and talk about it. I think there's going to be a lot of of things to discuss for this book. The next book is a book that I was gifted by a publisher. I've been meaning to get through all of the books that I've been gifted because I feel like they've been in such a backlog. And the book is The Secret History of the Rape Kit by Pagan Kennedy. I've never heard of this book before. I was gifted this book by Vintage Books, so thank you. And this was just one of the options for the month. It just sounded interesting. It's a nonfiction with a little bit of historical fiction added to it. It's a true crime. I'm just saying words. It's supposed to be stunning, part thriller, part feminist reclamation, part personal journey, fully a page turner, says Peggy Ornston. The synopsis goes as is. In 1972, Martha Goddard volunteered at a crisis hotline, counseling girls who have been molested. By the end of the decade, she has launched a campaign pushing hospitals and police departments to collect evidence of sexual assault and treat survivors with dignity, as everyone should. She designed a new kind of forensics tool, the Rape Kit, and new practices of evidence collection that spread across the country. Yet, even as Marty fought for women's rights, she allowed a man to take credit for her work and then vanished into obscurity. Awful. I hate that. I hate that for Martha. The Secret History of the Rape Kit chronicles one journalist's mission to understand a crucial innovation and the problematic history of forensics in America. As Pagan Kennedy hunts for answers to this mystery of Marty Goddard, she reflects on her own experiences with sexual assault and her desire for justice. I'm just excited to read a book that's kind of outside of my comfort zone as well. I don't normally read true crime. Here's a first or second. I don't know how many times I've read a true crime book. I was going to end my TBR there, but I had to choose just one more book because you'll get why. You'll get why after. I was gifted this literally 2 days ago from the publisher, 831 Stories, and the story is Square Waves by Alexandra Romanoff. I recently read Set Piece, and I loved it. I can't think of the author's name, so I'm gonna add it right here. I thought it was the perfect romance that didn't feel overboard. I feel like sometimes with romances we can prolong them, and I love these short and sweet stories, but they still have substance, and I'm very excited to read this second book by this publisher. It says, it's an enemies to lovers romance in which tabloid fodder mixes with a long brewing rivalry. Cassidy Weaver has more than paid for what she did as a young campaign intern, and she's done moving through life as a headline-making other woman. Does that make sense? I don't know. After years of working in anti-bullying initiatives, she returns to her hometown in Berkeley, California to recalibrate and quickly falls into bed with her high school nemesis, Leon Park. It's meant to be a one-night thing until they both find themselves helping a mutual friend, and Cassidy sees Leon in a new light. If everyone's misjudged her, is there a chance she's underestimated her too? Him too, not her. Underestimated Leon. 2. There's a lot of praise for A Big Fan by Alexandra Romanoff, and I'm excited to read this. It sounds like interconnected standalone from A Big Fan. I haven't read Big Fan yet, but I'm excited to pick this one up. Now, the reason why I had to choose this one, also because it was gifted by a publisher, but you'll notice something. There's a theme with all of these books. Look at that colorway. Look at this red theme. I'm obsessed. I'm obsessed. I'm obsessed with this stack right here. These are the books that I am planning on reading in the month of June. A big thank you to the Bookish Friends that I reached out to. I am excited to give my reviews, and I hope that my recommendations will come through and you'll be just as interested and excited to read these books as well. What are you planning on reading in June? I am so excited. I'm gonna stop saying how excited I am and end this video. Have a great day, and I will see you in another video next week. Bye.